Good day, everyone. I'd like you to introduce everybody and welcome to our Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce City Connections program, where we get to hear a little bit about the municipalities, the 13 different municipalities that make up our larger community and service area. And today we have the privilege of having the mayor of Kemah, the little sparkling municipality by the Bayshore, with us, Carl Joyner. And Carl, thank you, Carl. Appreciate your spending some time with us and telling us a little bit about Kemah. And maybe Carl, why don't you tell us how you wound up at Kemah and how you wound up becoming the mayor of the city?
Well, thanks for having me on, and that might take the whole 30 minutes, but so anyway, we raised our family in Kingwood, and that's where my main office is and still is. But after our kids graduated high school, we started coming to the Clear Lake area and just kind of fell in love with it. And then actually bought a boat in 1997 that we would come down on weekends and live. And then while we were here, we kind of drove around and we were able to find our lot in Kingwood or in Kemah in 1999. And so we decided to build a weekend house here. So we've had our home here in Kemah since 2001. Back in 2009, our neighbor moved and turned his house into a wedding event venue. And we're in a deed restricted area, and so didn't get much help solving that. So sometimes you just got to step up. And so I decided in 2012 to run for council, served on council for 3 years, elected to mayor in 2015, lost the election in 2019 by 28 votes. So decided to claw my way back. So was reelected in May of this year.
Okay, and you're currently the mayor of Kemah then?
I am, again.
Well, Kemah's a unique place. Why don't you give us a little thumbnail sketch? How many residents do you have, Carl, in Kemah?
Well, that's what's interesting is we're a town of 2,000, and even though we're a small footprint, we actually have 6 different distinct areas of Kemah, which are all kind of different. But what makes us stand out is Kemah is one of the #1 attractions in the Houston area with our Boardwalk. We welcome around 4 million visitors a year here. And so people drive by our City Hall police station and they see lots of police cars and they're going, why would you need that many police for a town of 2,000? Well, we need that because we protect 4 million. So anyway, in our upcoming budget, we have budgeted for 18 police officers and a chief, and then also part-time on the weekends because we have, more crowds in Kemah on the weekend. So we have some part-time officers to help protect us for that.
Well, that's interesting, Carl. Very unique for our municipalities, given the number of full-time residents versus the number of visitors. Does that have any thinking in terms of priorities and your goals as mayor, given that unique nature that you have or you're trying to pursue on behalf of the city?
Well, it absolutely does. And of course, the #1 concern in Kemah right now is public safety. We went through over the last couple of years where we kind of were in the press for some things that hasn't usually happened in Kemah with a shooting and stabbing and someone being beat to death. So we've gotten by that. Part of the problem that we had is we were down because of COVID with our police officers. And so we now are building that back. And we've got that under control, and that's one of the things that we really work hard for here in Kemah is that we're a positive, family-oriented place to visit, and we want people to feel safe when they are. So that's why public safety, but also we are working real hard. Kemah's kind of a strange place in that we're one of the few cities probably around that has no debt. We have the second lowest tax rate in Galveston County. We continue to have paid trash for our residents. So we're kind of spoiled here in Kemah. It's really nice that we can welcome the visitors here, but yet I live a mile from the Boardwalk, which is where people want to go. And for the most part, we're not affected whatsoever. And that's what we got to really do here in Kemah is we're here to protect the residents, but we want our visitors because that's what allows us to have the second lowest tax rate in Galveston County.
And so what is your budget? What is the City of Kemah's annual budget to do all those tasks?
Well, our annual budget is a little over $5 million, and most of that is made up of sales tax. So again, the Kemah Boardwalk is one of the #1 sales tax providers for us. They definitely are during the summer. During the winter, our Walmart might be #1. But people really enjoy the low property tax and the fact that really Kemah sits in a great place in that economic development wise, you know, what people want when they come to a city is #1, is it a good educational system? Right. Which, as you know, being on the school board, we have one of the best here, not just the ISD, but our colleges and things like that. And then the other one is transportation, and we've got I-45, which has been under construction since all of us were born, I believe. And but at any rate, if you take I-45, the Hobby Airport, the ship channel, our 146 expansion that's going on in Kemah right now. So we have great transportation that we can get around. And then the other one is way of life. We've got Clear Lake, Galveston Bay, Space Center, Kemah Boardwalk. So we're all sitting good here in the Clear Lake area. And that I think that's why that makes Kemah so special.
Well, Carl, you mentioned, and everybody's seen the 146 expansion and the new bridge going up and new pilings and every day. So can you tell viewers kind of what the status is of the 146 project and how it's affecting your little city?
Well, yeah, thanks for asking, because we dedicated the project in March of 2019, and it started out a 5-year project. I'm pleased to announce that because we've had a really good contractor on the project, we're approximately 1 year ahead of schedule. We were scared to death how it would affect Kemah, especially people coming to the Boardwalk. And I don't know if we ever got a true chance to test it because COVID hit, which, yeah, that did have a big effect on us. But I can't wait for 146 to get completed, because a lot of our traffic in Kemah during the week is people going back and forth to the plants. So in the mornings, we're going to be gridlocked. In the evenings, we're gridlocked. And once we get the elevated complete, then those people that have been gridlocking us will be up on the elevator and just move on through Kemah. So that's going to be wonderful for us. But what's interesting is in the last couple of years, we've learned to manage the traffic here in Kemah. Again, let's just take like 4th of July. Well, we fill our city with visitors, and they're here not only to have a good time during the day, but they're here for the fireworks on the 4th of July. So we've got much better at managing traffic. We actually bring all the cars in one street and basically close off all the other streets into Kemah so that we can count the cars coming in, so that when we've got all the parking filled, we turn them away and send them over to park in the Target parking lot or something like that. But so we're getting much better at managing that so that our residents aren't just stuck in their homes because we've got too much traffic and they can't move. So that's a great thing. But here's what's nice is that 146 is going on right now, but yet our crowds have never been better at the Kemah Boardwalk. And I think they're on the road to possibly having one of the best years they've ever had, which is fantastic, not only for Kemah, but really the entire region, because I think people are just wanting to get out after being stuck at home. And so anyway, we appreciate the fact that we have the Kemah Boardwalk, and they really try to be a good neighbor for us.
Yeah. Well, I guess you do then, as part of the city, have to work regularly with the boardwalk. How do y'all handle that?
Well, we're actually all good friends and all work together. Our police officers and their security have really sit down and worked a plan that moves traffic, and it's to their advantage too, to make sure that they're not gridlocking our city. And there's still people, again, we have people in Kemah on the east side of 146, and then we have the people on the west side of 146, and they're hardly affected by the boardwalk. They have different needs and wants, and that's why I talked about the 6 distinct areas that we have to serve. We've got South Kemah, Kemah Village, Kemah Oaks, Bayview, and Old Kemah. And so, and we all benefit from the boardwalk because of our low property taxes.
Sure.
So it's to our advantage to make sure they're successful, but yet we don't want them interfering with the people that live here, our 2,000 residents.
Well, Carl, we talked a bit about the 146 project and how that's affected you and the city. I'm assuming, though, that's not the only capital improvement projects that you have going on in the city. So why don't you give us an idea of what other capital improvement projects and issues that you're dealing with on part of the city?
Yeah, and thanks for asking about that. So again, since we have no debt, all of our capital improvement projects we pay cash on. So one of the big ones that we have this year is the widening of Anders Lane and drainage in our South Kemah area. So because of the size of that, it'll have to be done over 2 years, but Anders is a big north-south route right now, and it's dangerous. You put a school bus on that next to a 18-wheeler and they can hardly pass. And so that's something that is a priority. We have some other paving projects also this year, but a couple of things that are in the works that are big for us is the Meritage development that is going in at the corner of 146 and 96, which it's almost a 90-acre tract there. It's the largest piece of property basically that we have in Kemah to develop. But Meritage is coming in with homes, retail, apartments, etc. And what's exciting about that is it's more than going to double the size of Kemah. So, we're starting into just kind of get close to Lake City. We're 2,000, we're going to 4,000 to 6,000. City Day will pass Lake City, but actually that'll never happen because we don't have the ground to do that. But at any rate, we've got some great things going on here. We have another development in West Kemah, which is condos, townhouses, etc., which will be a nice addition to them. And then we've got on 518 a complex going there, which is kind of for senior citizens. So that'll also make a big difference in our climate here in Kemah. But yeah, a lot of things happening here. We're working on our CIP 5-year plan right now. When I was mayor before, back in 2015 to 19, we worked off of a CIP 5-year plan because, again, when we come up with an idea, it may take 5 years to get it done since we pay cash. And so we ration our monies out as we go. And we're excited. We went through COVID and basically we're afraid to do much at all in Kemah, but now we're ready to move and move our city forward.
Well, it sounds like you're coming out of it, and it sounds like you're building new areas. So the Meritage, how many homes is that?
Well, it's around 400, I believe. I don't think they totally finalized the number on that, but anyway, they'll have green spaces and portions of it will be gated. So it's really a nice addition for our city. Okay. And then we're hoping, that 96, along 96 will turn out to be retail or something along that line. So again, it helps us with our sales tax. A couple of years ago, we got the shops of Kemah here, which has been a great addition with Marshalls and some of those stores like that. And actually the way we got them here is we had excess of $3 million in the bank. And so we actually put $3 million into that project. We first started out talking 380 where we would give up a part of their sales tax in order to get them in here. But because of financing, et cetera, it just worked out that it was better to put the $3 million in. And so we've established what we call a growth fund. So the sales tax that comes in on that goes into a special fund so that if something comes along that we think is big, then we will have the money to help get them in here. The other exciting thing about Meritage is that they're going to be putting in a road, a north-south road that hopefully will connect next to the shops of Kemah. Okay. And so that's in the works, and we've had the right of way for that since when I was mayor before. But that's going to be a big deal because right now it's nice that we can come out on the Bell Road extension next to City Hall with a light on 146 and not have to get on 146. Okay. And so that'll allow us then to go over and actually go all the way to 96 or to 518. And then Clear Lake Shores is extending that same road from 518 to 2094. So we'll be able to go back and forth from 2094 to 96 without getting on 146. So that's a big thing for our city.
Sure, sure. Well, Carl, you've mentioned some of the developments and some of the funding and how you're covering that. I'm assuming you have public works issues like everybody else in terms of dealing with your infrastructure. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about what's going on there with Kemah?
Well, again, our little city, we always want to be looking good, not only for our residents, but for our visitors. Right now, because of COVID and cutting budget, we've had to cut back on our public works personnel. So in our budget moving forward, starting in October, we'll be adding at least one. And one of the big issues that we have in Kemah is drainage. And a couple of years ago, we did a study and determined that we had about 16 million in drainage needs, which, if you can think about the fact that our budget is 5 million a year, that's something that's pretty hard to tackle. So actually, we, through Public Works and using our grade all, we've actually been able to do a lot of that work in-house, and slowly but surely we're meeting those needs. And again, for South Kemah, which is one of the bigger drainage projects, that'll be part of our Anders widening. So that's moving ahead. But our grade all is worn out. It's like 20 some years old. And so we're trying to see if we can get into the budget to not necessarily get a new one, but at least a used one. And then by adding additional personnel, we have a hard time keeping up with grass and mowing and maintenance and things like that. So Public Works, they're absolutely one of the most valuable parts of our city.
Well, Carl, I believe you've mentioned to me in prior discussions about you're in the process of trying to streamline your city's permitting and planning processes, particularly given everything that's going on in terms of the development. And how are you setting about doing that?
Well, so when I ran for mayor again, that was one of the criticisms we had out there, which is not good, is that Kemah was difficult to work with. And that's the reputation you really don't want. So we have a new building inspector, and we've hired a new firm to review our plans and help with inspection and things like that. And so we're actually requiring people, if they're wanting to do something, to come in for a pre-meeting and go through what they need to do in their set of plans so that it will go through permitting very smoothly. And so that's beginning to work. And we're really, I think, just about caught up on anyone that had hit a snag or anything like that. But we want people to know, we want you to come to Kemah. You're going to have to follow our codes and ordinances, but we'll sit down with you and tell you what those are so that you can go back to your professional and make sure that they comply. And then we can review your plans very quickly.
Does that fit within your goal to improve the transparency and communication between the city government and your businesses and visitors?
It absolutely does. And so I think probably in any city, communication is probably one of the things that we have the hardest time making sure that our citizens know what's going on. So we are trying to get people connected to our Blackboard Connect and trying to keep our city website up to date. And I have my first mayor newsletter going out here shortly, which I used to do quarterly back when I was mayor before, and we're going to do that again because we try to update kind of things that are going on in the city and what might be coming up and events and things like that. So we're working real hard, and we're videoing our meetings now so that, with COVID, a lot of people still aren't comfortable coming to a council meeting, and some of our older citizens really don't like getting out in the evening. So we're trying to video our meetings so that people can watch. And unfortunately, we've been having some kind of late night meetings, so they can cut it off whenever and get up the next morning and finish the meetings. But yeah, transparency and also we've had some kind of big issues since I became mayor, and they were issues when I was running for mayor. And so we've been trying to workshop those before each meeting, those issues. And we probably have more of our citizens attending our council meetings now. And yeah, it's good. And our citizens just want to be heard.
Sure.
And we need to work on that. Okay. We need to work on that and pay attention to what they're saying, because that's what I'm here for. And that's what our council's here for, is to represent our citizens and businesses. So the other thing that I'm working on as far as transparency is before we had what we call the super neighborhood groups. And so I'm forming those again. I talked about 6 distinct areas. So we'll have 2 people from each of those areas that, they're neighbors within their area. So people would feel comfortable calling them and going, I have a problem. Would you share this with the mayor? And so trying to create that. And then we're forming the business alliance, which we used to have. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we're going to have our first meeting there. But I want to reach out. We're not just the Boardwalk. We have Toucan Alley, and we have a lot of mom and pop operations here. And I want to make sure they're successful. And we've been talking about the fact that, especially in our Lighthouse District, which is where Toucan Alley is, and our bars and the Boardwalk, people drive and they park and they automatically go to the Boardwalk. Well, we're wanting them to stay parked and walk back toward the other businesses that we have here and help them out. So we're working on things like that. But again, with our citizens being able to communicate, our businesses being able to communicate to me, then we can take up their issues and hopefully bring them before council and show them that we're listening and that we truly do want everyone to think that this is a great place to live, work, and play.
Well, Carl, I appreciate that advice and discussion about how you as a city are meeting and communicating with your residents. And I think we're kind of coming down towards the end. So, I mean, if there's anything that you think that the viewers might want to know about Kemah, just include conclusion or wrapping up, just let us know.
Okay, so please come to Kemah. We want you here, and we will treat you like you're a king. Okay, come to Kemah. Spend money. Okay.
Well, thank you, Carl. I appreciate it, and appreciate your time. Kemah really is a very unique place for our community. It's a very big draw, as you mentioned, 4 million visitors a year brought down into our community to spend money, to see the sights, to enjoy the Bayshore. And we appreciate everything you're doing. We appreciate that the work that your city council members and your city is doing, and keep up the good work. So thank you so much, Carl.
Yeah, thank you again for having me on. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it.